Okay, this is Dennis, Whiskey 6BFK with the Charlotte Amateur Radio Society. Today is October 23rd, 2024. We have Rick, W9RMW, who will be presenting the Yaesu 710 firmware installation, setup, and operation with JS8, hopefully all the way through QRZ. So, Rick, it is all yours.
Good evening, everybody. The presentation this evening, there's actually two. The first one will be just a short step-by-step process for updating the firmware on the Yaesu FT710. And that part of the presentation won't take very long. So those of you who have no interest in it, then you won't even get a chance to take a nap, okay? It'll be really quick. As you can imagine, the club only wanted the most knowledgeable, the brightest, and the most experienced FT710 user to be the presenter this evening. Well, unfortunately, they had a prior commitment, so Dennis asked me to step in at the last minute. You're stuck with me. But it's not a total loss. I do know a little bit about the 710. And for the second part of the presentation, I will be discussing various software applications that you probably use as well. I'll cover the N3 FJP emitter contact log that I use for logging voice contacts. But I'll begin with WSJTX and Grid Tracker because I use those mainly for the digital modes. Now, I'm no expert, and that part of this evening's presentation, that'll be more of a Q&A. I'll show you kind of what I do, but I'm hoping to learn as much or more from you as you will learn from me. Okay, but let's get to it. So we're going to start off with the Yaesu 710 firmware setup. As Dennis mentioned, I'm Richard Wright, Whiskey 9er, Romeo, Mike Whiskey, and I go by Port Charlotte Rick simply because there's so many Ricks in the club. And my ham journey began because of CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team that I was a member of in Indiana. They had a ham license technician class, training class on two Saturdays. The first Saturday was all training. The second Saturday was training, and then they gave you your exam. And I passed both the technician and general in January of 2020 through that cert process. My initial call sign was Kilo Delta Niner, Oscar Delta Kilo, and I received that January 21st. But then I wanted something a little better, something that I could memorize. So Whiskey 9er, Romeo, Mike Whiskey, the last three characters are my initials. And I was granted that call sign in April of 2020. Now I began my HF journey using an old Kenwood TS50S that I still have. And I use it, obviously, it's just basically just voice contacts. But in November 2023, I purchased the 710. And in May of this year, I started my digital modes. And that's how I began my HF contests, my journey. So the first thing you want to do is when you get your FT710, you need to check to see what software or firmware versions you have. And to do that, you press the function and then the extension settings and then select the software version. And you see here, you have main, display, DSP, SDR, and DST. And as you can see, this is my screen that I had. I had version 1-11, -8, -1, and -4. So you need to look at what you have just to see if you even need to update, because there's a good chance that you may already have the most up-to-date version. So the next thing you do is you go to the Yaesu website, and I'll show you where you actually go, where you go to look at the files that are available to you. You look at the date, and when I did my update, you see there was a February 29th, 2024, which was Leap Day, and the only version that they had updated was the main. Okay, so that told me that I was on version 1-11, but there's a version 1-12 available. So I went ahead and upgraded. Now, in addition to upgrading the firmware, you can use your SD card for a lot of different things. You record or play received audio. There's voice memory, so you can record your own voice. For example, if you're doing contesting, to save your voice, you could do the CQ and your call sign and record all that. If you have programmed anything into your memory channels, you can save all that. And any setup mode changes that you've made, you can save all of those. And lastly, but not least, is saving a screen capture. So for example, you want to save a history of the settings that you have made. what you do is when you have that screen up, you press and hold the mode button on your radio, and it will capture that screen display to your SD card. Now, Yaesu has tested several different SD cards, from 2 to 4 to 8, 16, and even a 32 gig. Most, but not all, can be used. It depends on the manufacturer. But the key thing to remember is that you must format or initialize the card for the first time that you use it in the in the unit, and you want to format it with the radio, and it's very easy to do. Just follow those steps right there. You go to the extension settings, type down where it says format, hit OK, and then format is complete. You click back, and you're back to the main screen again. Now, once you've decided you want to go ahead and update your firmware, then download the appropriate firmware update on the Yaesu website. You have to download it, of course, to a Windows computer. And you want to take your SD card, and you must also put it in your computer. Now, some computers don't have card readers, but they do make like USB devices that you can plug the card into. Now, when you put that SD card in your memory card reader on your laptop or your computer, you'll see the file structure there. You have the FT710, and then below that are subfolders: capture, memlist, menu, and then playlist. Well, the next section right below that, that's where you will copy those firmware files. That's where the radio will look for them. So if you copy them someplace else, it won't know that it's available to do an upgrade. So copy those files there. Okay, then you go right back, you put the SD card back into the radio, and then when you power it up, here's the key. This is the big warning here. Once you do the upgrade, the transceiver must be factory reset right after doing that upgrade. Now, this will clear all of the memories and the data in your setting menus. That's why we recommend that you save everything before you do this firmware upgrade. And to save this data, you press the function key, extension settings, SD card, and then select memory list and then done, and then repeat that for menu save. And then all of your settings will be saved, and you can, at that point, you can begin the firmware upgrade. Now, one thing that is not in the manual is that I have seen videos about this, is if you have cat cables or even a mouse, they recommend that you remove all USB cables from the radio. There's a chance, it's a slim chance, but there is a chance that the firmware upgrade may fail. So they recommend that you remove the cables before you do the upgrade. Okay, so now to upgrade the firmware, once you're back up, powered back on, you go to the function, extension settings, SD card, and firmware update. Now here you will select the ones that you need to upgrade. Now, as I mentioned in my previous display, I have version 1-11 for the main, but the display, DSP, and SDR, they were current. So I did not select those. Now, in the manual, it says if you have multiple firmware updates, that they say they recommend that you update the display firmware first. I didn't need to do that, but just keep that in mind. If, let's say, there's a version 1-9 for the display, you want to update the display first before you do the main. Okay. Next screen here is after you do the firmware update, you have to do the reset, and it tells you to turn the power off, but I found that when I did the firmware update, it automatically turned the power off. So what all that I had to do was press and hold the DSP reset and the find fast buttons, press those together, and then turn the power on. And then what will happen is the main frequency display will say 7 megahertz. That's how you know you have done a factory reset. Okay, so next thing, after your update is done, then you go back and you will select those memory settings that you saved earlier. You press function, extension setting, SD card, and then done between menu load and then mem list load. Remember before it said menu save. So this is how you load those previous settings. And you'll notice that they date stamp those files. So you know it's a good idea. Like, for example, if you're going to play around with the radio, it's a good idea to save them before you make any changes. That way, if you did something and you don't know what, it's no longer working the way you want it to, you can always go back and load a previous saved settings. Okay. So once you do that, this will put your radio back into the state it was before your update. And that's it. That's how you do the firmware upgrade on the FT710. Any questions? Can you guys hear me okay? You're all muted.
We heard you,
we heard
Rick.
all that,
Okay.
Rick.
Very
We heard
good.
you, Rick.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and
Oh,
clear.
okay. I have a question. Are you
Sure.
going to email us your slides so that I can go through that stuff slowly because I have to do a firmware update. I haven't done one recently.
Absolutely. I will absolutely share them.
Another question for you, Rick. Every once in a while, we do a firmware update on something and we're not happy with it. Is it easy to roll back to a previous version?
You know, I don't know if there's a rollback. I'm guessing you will have to. Hopefully, you saved the recording, or I'm sorry, the previous firmware version, because I noticed on their website, and I was going to show you that. If you go to the Yaesu website, it only lists the current version. Okay, and the versions are located here. You go to yaesu.com, go to products, HF transceivers and amplifiers, and then pick the FT710. And then over here under the Files tab, this is where you'd see the firmware updates. And down here, it shows you firmware update. You see, I don't see any previous versions. It's only showing the current version.
So it's really on you to keep a library of previous versions then if you need it.
Yes, unless, I mean, it's possible you might be able to do an internet search and find it somewhere.
Right, or request it.
Yeah, but I don't see previous versions here at all.
Yeah, okay.
Now, that's one reason why I always back up everything, including the software versions on your rig before you do an upgrade.
Agreed. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show is how I use Grid Tracker and WSJTX. Now, the first thing that I'd like to do, I wanted to show everybody, is let's pick a quiet band. And one thing that they show in this the WSJTX screen is as far as your ALC, your automatically limiting circuit, they want 30 dB recommended when there's only noise present. So what you want to do here is you click on your speakers. I'm sorry, you right click and then go to sound settings. Now you come down here where it says volume for your microphone, and you notice right here I'm about 45. Now they recommend 30. So if you can increase this or lower this, and you want to be down around 30. And then you can see that's as low as I can go. But they don't want you to be in the yellow, and they definitely don't want you to be in the red, or there would be some clipping involved. So that's how you adjust that for your ALC circuit. Now, another thing too that you can do is when you're transmitting, this right here says PWR for power, but this actually increases and lowers the actual dial on your radio, the AOC dial. And depending on who you talk to, I've heard that it's best if it's like right in the middle between the white and the blue purplish color. So you want it to be right in there. Okay, now, one of the things that I do in the mornings when I fire up my work laptop and get my coffee is I'll go to the third tab here and do what's called band hopping. Now, what this does is you select the different bands that you're able to send and receive on. And then when you click the band hopping button, it will go to each band here for 2 minutes, and then it will skip. It will continue on. Now, I do that while I'm checking my work email, making my coffee or whatever, and I'll look at the screen just to see what kind of activity is there. So you could do the same thing by just clicking each band as you go, right? You could do it, but this way it just, I can look up while I'm like multitasking. I'm checking work emails or doing whatever. So that's just something that I like to do just early in the mornings. Now, another
Rick?
thing, yes.
You might want to point out that your version level of WSJTX is version 2.7.1, and also it can be either the development or improved version. You are showing the improved version, so what you're showing might be different than what other people have.
That's a good point. Absolutely. Yeah, you may even have a newer version that does advanced features. So, absolutely. Yeah, some of these things you may not have available in your version, so just be aware of that. Like I know you may not have the band buttons here. I like the band buttons. I just click once on a band. Now you have them available here in the drop down. You could do it this way as well, but I just like having the band button. Yeah. And also, I'm in the dark mode. Some people, it's easier for me to see. But again, yeah, you can customize this that for whatever method suits your taste. Okay. All right. So the next thing I wanted to show you is my logbook. So in here, here's my logbook. I wanted to show you, do a refresh here. When you make a contact, I don't know if you heard earlier, but Dave was saying a lot of these are instant. You make a contact and it filters it in right away. Now, for those of you that use QRZ, you also, now I'm a paid version. I have a platinum membership, so I also have a QRZ page. Now I know by default you get one as well, but on this one there's some advanced features you can have. Off the top of my head, I don't know what all they are, but maybe some advanced the web design, so it's customized. But I've been doing HTML for a while, so I customize my own page here. But one of the things I wanted to show you, you notice over here, I have these 10 awards. And just by making contacts, you may or may not know this, but you achieve certain awards. And the way that you find out what's available or your current status is if you go back to your logbook, you click on the awards, it will bring up all the QRZ awards. And here, the first thing that lists are the ones that you have been awarded. And then down here, it lists all the different awards that are available. Now, let's say, for example, my Master of Communications for Africa. If you click on that, it will show you where you're at. So you see, I've made 25 out of 76 of the entities. They're not really countries, they're entities. And it will show you here a breakdown of, yes, I made 2 unconfirmed contacts in Cape Verde. Now, what does that mean? That just means they don't have a way to confirm. Maybe they don't do Logbook of the War or QRZ. Okay. That's all that means. Or maybe, well, for whatever reason, they just didn't confirm. Okay. Now, if you look further, like, let me show you this one, Radio Communication of North America. Looky there. Congratulations. So I have achieved that award. So what you do is you click this Apply Now button and look back here. Remember, there's 10 awards there, and it even shows you the 10 awards right here. It shows you what they are. But if you go over here and you click Apply, this fills in your information, your email address, any comments if you want, but you just click that to certify that everything is only up and up. You hit Submit. And then this is what happens. Now, this is really not true because you almost instantaneously get a confirmation. So my guess is this is an automated process, and you'll get an email, and it's, like I said, it's usually pretty quick. So if I go back to my page, you see I have the 10 here. If I do a refresh, sometimes it shows up like almost instantly. Look, it's already there. So I just achieved the Master of North America award. So those of you that do QRZ, if you logged there, logged the Logbook of the Word, well, this is QRZ, right? So if you send your logs here, just be aware that you may have some awards out there that you can apply for and receive. Okay. Any questions on that?
Let me just jump in here, Rick.
Sure.
If you're interested in going further with Logbook of the World, Club Log, and the other logs as an extension from QRZ, that'll be coming up, I believe, March of next year. Randy AA8R will be doing a presentation on, well, the core presentation will be Logbook of the World, and then some of the other logging software that kind of goes to more of the prestigious awards that LOTW offers.
Right.
Rick.
Absolutely. That's great. And as you related, there's like the DXCC, for example, that's definitely a global type of award, much more prestigious. But the good news is if you're logging it here and you're logging it there, then chances are you can go and get it there as well. Now, I know there's a price for that, but what is it free these days, right? All right. Next thing I wanted to show you guys is if anybody has any interest in doing 60 meters, I've documented the process for that, and I will make this document available to the club. And it's pretty simple. Let me find it here. All right, so this page documents what is required, and this is for the WSJTX for 60 meter operation. Now, in the WSJTX software, you have a profile configuration, right? So all your settings for your radio, your COM ports, and any special settings that you like. I recommend, and this recommends that you create, and by the way, I'm giving credit to this Mark Galbraith, N7YD. I posted the question out in the Facebook group. There's an FT710 group, and he responded. So this, I'm giving him credit because the screenshots all came from him. So what you do is you create a profile. You can actually clone one that is working and just rename it. I have one and I call it 60 meters. And then you switch to that profile. Now, when you switch to a different profile, WSJTX will close and then reopen with that loaded profile. And then you go in and you make these changes. In the General tab, under Monitor Returns to Last Use Frequency, you want to uncheck that. And then you go to the Radio tab and make sure your mode and split operation are set to none. Those are the only two changes. I'm sorry, only three changes. You save those, and then the last thing that you do, you go to your 710, and then you press the V/M button, which is the second one, the top on the left. You got the M pointing to the V, and then you have the V/M. You press that button, and then that will bring you your memory settings. And the bottom left knob, the step MCH button, if you turn that knob, you can scroll through the different channels, but you want channel 5-13. And that will automatically tune your radio so you're all set to go in the 60 meters. So let me show you that. So here under configuration, I got a 60 meters, and then you click switch to. Okay, so now it is now in, there's my 60 meters. And let's see, there's a little bit of activity over here. Okay, so what I have to do is I have to go the VM and put it on 513. Now you'll notice now they're filling in. Okay, so here's Guyana. I have not worked Guyana before. So he's given the 73 to somebody. So I'm going to enable transmit, and let's see what happens. Okay, so I am transmitting now. So he just responded. He's calling CQ. And now down here on the WSJTX, I don't know if you can see this or not, but here it will list you what SWR your rating you are at according to your radio and your antenna. Again, this is getting the information from the radio. So look, he just responded to me. Okay. So I'm at SWR 1.13 and at 27 watts, even though my radio is set at 25. So what I like to do is like to look at this, make sure the call sign, the date, and time are correct, and the mode, and then the band. Now, I also retain the transmit power, and I also like to retain the comments, and that just throws it in my log, so I can go back and look. Okay, so you see, he wished me a goodbye with the 73, so I'm done. I hit OK. I just logged that contact. So now if I go back to my log, okay, so here's my log. I've got 161 countries. If I hit refresh, I've now got 162. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I want to go through some screenshots that I have taken along my journey. And I want to start with my very first 12-meter contact. Look at this guy. Some of you heard me say that I was on the Sunshine Net one day, and I like, I want to test out 12-meter. Is anybody out there? And lo and behold, Dave graced me with his presence. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. And here I did a look up on Dave, and they see what I worked him and confirmed it. I've obviously confirmed him before in 10 and 15 meter. But here's one thing I wanted to show you. This is a 30-meter screenshot. You see this little yellow/orange dash in the upper left here? And here's a better shot of it. I don't know what that is. That only shows up on 30 meters. I have no idea what that is. I just thought I would mention that. Here's an interesting contact that I just recently made. This is, again, on 60 meters. Look at all of these people talking to this guy. I'm like, what the heck? Who is this guy? So I did a lookup on him. So this was a guy doing a expedition on Nauru Island. A lot of people contacting this guy on 60 meters. And you notice he's responding to more than one. So he's using that DX contesting software. So you can transmit and receive to more than one. That's kind of cool. Here's the next thing I did. This is a 60 meter. Once I got on 60 meters, I started playing around, made a couple contacts. And have you ever waited and waited and waited for someone to finally give you that 73? It's annoying at times. Now, one thing I've noticed too, sometimes WSJTX and my radio, they don't always jive, okay? Like, for example, this one here says I'm at 93 watts when I'm set at 100 watts. And I think you just saw I was set at 25 watts, but it said I was at 27. So I don't know if that's a glitch or just something just different, the hardware talking to the software, but not a big deal. Just thought I'd mention that. And here's something I saw on 160 meters. Don't know what that was.
Can you describe your antenna and tuner situation that you're using for this, Rick?
I absolutely will. Let me get through these screenshots and I'll go through that. As a matter of fact, I can go ahead and do it now. I still have my page up. On my here we go, on my QRZ page. I started out with a portable antenna, but I wanted something a little more permanent, so I got a flagpole. So out of my front yard, I have a 24-foot flagpole antenna. Now, what this is, technically, it's a off-center fed vertical dipole. So there's no radials. You have 20 feet at top, and there's a fiberglass insulator. I don't know if you can see my mouse pointer here. and then there's 4 feet below that. I have my coax buried under the ground, and it comes into the house there. I used that for the longest time, but I was not getting very good contacts on like 80 meters, and I didn't even try 60. It just the SWR was way too high. Now at that time I was using an LDG RC100. There was a controller under this wooden barrel, and that's a RT100, and then the RC100 is on inside on my shack, and it communicates to that controller down there. Well, now I wanted to try something different, and as you can see, I'm in a trailer, so I have limited space. So what I did is I talked to Dave. I think it was you, right? You have the same. You were looking at the 88-foot in-fed. So I got the 88-foot in-fed antenna, and I got a 33-foot fiberglass mast. I'm sorry, carbon fiber mast. And so I have this in my backyard. So it's an in-fed, and the baleen is down here, and the coax is coming into the house that way. So I now have an AT100 Pro 2 auto tuner. And the thing I like about that is both antennas plug into it, and I can just switch. So for example, if it's windy out, or maybe if I'm not going to be using the antenna, this thing, they have locks that you just click and it'll collapse. I can take this thing down I could take it down and I could put everything away. What I do is I have pulleys along here, and I fasten it down here to a bungee, and then another pulley here, and then another pulley here. So it takes up the slack. And I can collapse this in 3 minutes, and I can raise it in 2 minutes. So I love this. So it's really neat and easy to set up and take down. But the Pro 2 auto tuner, I have found that even with my flagpole antenna, it has given me better results. So I'm real pleased. I know Chuck said that there's been some that are kind of quirky, and I have noticed that sometimes it doesn't remember. Like, it's got 2,000 memory channels per antenna. So there's 4,000 memory slots that it can have. But I've noticed that sometimes it does take a while, even if you go back to a particular frequency or a particular band or whatever, like maybe the 60 meter, and it may take a few more seconds, but usually it's pretty quick. So I've been really pleased with it. So those are the antennas that I have in the auto tuner. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to show you is we have a lot of RF, and you always try to eliminate that, right? And I didn't know if maybe something like that, if you had any extra metal on your face, if that would help with the noise. But nothing against piercings, but yeah, I don't think I want to go that far.
You don't want to be part of the antenna.
Exactly. And here's the band hopping that I was telling you about, how I have it set up, and I let it do its thing. Now, have you guys seen this?
Yeah.
The Bigfoot session. Yeah. They were active, I guess, until like the 21st. I saw them several times, but I never made contact. But I think that's kind of cool. And this is a screenshot I took. This is like my map that I use on Grid Tracker. I made a contact. I don't know for you guys, but South America is like, I don't know what it is, but I had the hardest time getting South America. So, but I wanted to grab that while I made that contact. Now, here's that neighbor island that I was telling you about on 60 meter. I finally did work them. And this is their official homepage. So it's the German de-expedition. Now, that's still going on. See, they're going on until the 29th. Now, you will not leave. I wonder if that's next. Let me see if the next screen. Yep. Look at this, guys. This is them.
Yeah.
They're very active. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So, and I guess this is where they're at right here. This is Neighbor Island. But man, they're it's funny because I'll try them on one band and there's such a pile up, I'll skip them. I'll go to another band, and by God, they're there. So that's the C21MM I was showing you right here. C21MM. So like I said, they're going on for about 4 more days. So if you get a chance, you can try to work them. The next thing I wanted to do, this was like one day I was just calling. I reached out to somebody. I responded to somebody calling CQ, and then bam, man, I was hit. I was like, wow, all these people hit me at once. It was amazing. It was fun to kind of juggle. That was neat. And I'm sure you guys know with the grid tracker, you right click and you can do a call sign lookup and it tells you all about them. And then you also have links here, like you click on this link or you can click on this one if they're on QRZ, and it will take you to their QRZ page. And what's kind of neat is I like doing that. I like reading the history because some of these guys, they go into a lot of detail. And some of them, like even in our club, I mean, there's guys that have been hands for 50 years or more, and the knowledge and the stories that they tell on some of these pages is really kind of cool. There's one guy's page that I went to. He had 3 confirmations from the ISS, 3 different astronauts. And I guess there's a way that you can actually apply and they send you like a printed copy. It's really kind of cool. And he showed him on his QRZ page. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, Rick, if you go ahead and plug through to C21MM's, their website, it links through their QRZ, and just take a look at what they're running for antennas. They've got quite a station out there. That's amazing.
I would imagine. I mean, geez, just look at what is it here? Here we go. C21 Mike.
Yep. Yeah,
And then you talk about their homepage or
Yep.
here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Click on that link and check his equipment. Look at the antennas. And he's running bandpass filters, so they're running multiple stations at the same time too.
Yeah.
So that's why they're out there clubbing it.
Yeah. 160 to 3, the 30 meter, yeah. And then 20 to 10. Yeah. Oops, man.
Yeah.
High power bandpass, yeah.
Yeah. He probably running 3 stations simultaneously, I bet at least.
I bet at least, absolutely. Yeah, because if you look at that, the screenshot I took of their PSK reporter, there's a bunch of them at the same time. So, yeah. Okay, back to here. This is just some of the people I've contacted. What's interesting is you see here's worked and here's confirmed, and there's also worked and confirmed. I've seen both, And I found a glitch. I don't know how or why this happened, but sometimes if you're in the grid tracker and you have live band mode and you maybe you want new and unconfirmed. Well, this guy I've confirmed, but it still showed up. So I don't know how that worked. Digital modes, the WW, the worldwide Digimode. This was new to me. I had not heard of it. I did not know anything about it. One day I saw this. I'm like, what is that? I mean, I've heard of like CQNA for North America, or something like that. But what is this? CQWW? I had no idea. So I did a little research. It is what it is. It's a worldwide digital mode contest that's actually built in to WSJTX. Okay, so here's one guy I tried to reach. And the funny thing is, they don't list like grids or signal report. It was really interesting. Yeah, and I got more screens about that. You seen this guy before? D1DX, unknown. He shows up a lot.
Now that CQ Worldwide, they run that contest twice a year. CW sideband, RIDI, and digital.
Yeah.
And let me see if the exchange is RST and CQ zone. So that's why you're not seeing the grid square. It's just CQ zone.
Gotcha.
Yep. One of the biggest DX contests of the year.
Yeah, I believe it. And I know how to participate now because I did it. So I did it kind of late. I think they only did it for 12 hours. It was like from midnight to noon the next day. So,
Mhm.
but here's a screenshot of a couple of those rare finds. That's kind of neat. And here's one thing. One day I got on here and like, all these people in Japan were trying to hit up this guy. It's like, what in the world's going on? Well, he was doing some kind of a contest on an island just outside of Japan. I could never find the guy, so I'm assuming he was probably low power. But that's just kind of interesting that I saw that. And if you ever had somebody who, for some reason, you didn't confirm, they didn't confirm, you see this incoming, you can go to the incoming, you click on it, and you find out what happened, you know. And typically what that means is it's not in their log. So I logged them, but they didn't log me. And there's really nothing you could do. I mean, you could reach out to them if you want, if it's a rare location, a hard to find, you could, you know, go to the QRZ page and get their email, and maybe email them. But I haven't had any luck. I had one guy say, you know, you're not in my log, so sorry. So okay, whatever, move on. And here's one of like I was showing you. If you have not worked them, either confirmed or not, you don't see anything after their country code or their entity code. And let me show you next thing. Keep going. Just more people. Here's a couple that are hard to get. No 73. I've seen that before. You sit there and you wait for a 73 and you don't get it, so you move on. And here's something, no response at all. I was trying to work this guy in Vietnam, no response at all. Nothing. Hey, I even tried different power settings. So I guess this is a propagation issue, right? So they don't hear me. And then this one, this is the no signal report. This was doing that WW contest. And this one is, look at this. This guy, his power, his signal report was plus 33. Must have been right next door to him. Hitting him pretty hard. And just another one we go through. And let me see, just a couple of different PSK reports. And this is I think I tried to get them. I don't know if I ever did or not. But then finally, just remember, guys, when you're on the radio, make sure you follow all the rules and the regulations, or the FCC will get a hold of this guy and he'll come after you. He will spank you. That's all I got. Any questions?
Hey, Rick,
Yes,
I got one little hint here that you might be interested in.
absolutely.
If you'll bring up a grid tracker on your screen.
Okay. The main screen?
Yeah. Okay, now, okay, there's grid tracker. If you see somebody that's not calling CQ, but
Right.
he's somebody you want to put in your log as far as the contact, if you right click on the call and then select generate message,
Yep. It throws it down here.
yeah, it throws it over there.
Yep.
And then,
Then you can log it. Add
no,
it.
you don't log it. What you can do is then go up to your waterfall and right click on a clean area. What you want to do is select an area in your waterfall where there's not much traffic.
Right.
What you're going to do is you're going to send out a message trying to contact him, even though you're not on the same frequency he is. You're going to select a frequency and then enable transmit, and it will try to call him on the frequency that you selected in your waterfall. So
Yep.
if he's got a pile up and you can't get to him, then you can go off frequency from wherever he is and try to get him. And you'd be surprised how many people will come back to you that way, even
Oh,
though it's
absolutely.
never called CQ.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like that my 162nd country, the one that I just got, this one here, that one, Guyana. Okay. I
Right,
didn't wait for CQ. I did not wait for CQ. I did exactly what you said. I clicked them, and then you go over here, you say enable transmit. And
right.
just be aware, even if you do that, sometimes this may turn green and it will disable that. You can just keep doing it. And yeah, there's a lot that I do like that because, like you said, there's such a pileup. They never call CQ.
Yeah, well, my point was that if you select a frequency that he's not calling CQ on, then you'll light up on his screen because you're calling him.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all that's required. You don't have to be on the same frequency. You can be anywhere in the band and call him and he'll see it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point. And there's some people who click this to hold the transmit frequency. So
Right,
what happens if you do not check this, then where you transmit, it will go to where they are calling. Okay.
that's correct.
So, and typically I do not check that because I figure they do what, like, for example, if I wanted to call CQ, I would do exactly what Dave said. I click a clear space here and I click in here, and that's when I would start my CQ because I know it's clear. But yeah, if there's a pileup, somebody might be trying to reach me down here, and it may not show up here, but it may show up somewhere. But that's a good point. And another thing too, these columns, I kind of cheat a little bit. You notice I have the UTC here. Now with FT8, as you guys probably know, every 15 seconds is a cycle. You transmit for 15 seconds and then you receive for 15 seconds. Let's say I want to get these two guys right here. You see, they're both these two. Okay, this one's at 15 and this one's 30. So I could transmit to this guy and then I can go down to this guy. And then I could transmit to both, one right after the other. Now the drawback is I won't hear the first person responding if they're responding to me right away, but I might be in their queue. So they may respond the next time I listen and I decode. So that's a little
You're basically duplexing over both time slots.
correct.
Yep, that's smart.
Yeah, one thing that shows up in that though, if you've been on one time slot and the guy that you're trying to contact is on the next time slot, you may not be able to communicate until you get into the same time slot.
Gotcha. Yeah, because he's not going to hear me when he's transmitting. Right.
Correct.
But see, I'm not going to transmit while he's transmitting because the software is smart enough to know. You see?
There you go, assuming again.
Yeah. 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 That's come back to bit me more than once. And let me see what I have. Any more notes? Yep. Now, another program that I use, and I don't know if you guys use it or not, but it's the N3JFT's amateur contact log, the N3FJP. This is the one that I use for voice. Okay. So what you can do in here is you can go onto File, and where is it? No, it's under Settings and DX Spotting. So this is where you configure who you want to be notified of. Like, for example, if maybe you're only looking for Oceania, okay, or South America, okay, so you can check those, and you'll only get DX spotting from who you select. Now I'm under dxspots.com, but you can change. If you have a favorite DX spot host that you like, you can select that. And then you could also say more filtering, like I don't want 60 meter, just or 160, give me 6, 10, give me all these. Okay, so you check the bands that you do not want. Okay, and then when you hit done and you get out, so what's happening is it's spotting people who, so now if I click on this guy, this has rig control. So right now I'm still on the other frequency. But if I click that, my radio just reverted back. And I have it set so it brings up their QRZ page.
Mhm.
And then I turn up the volume, and then I hear them, and then I can communicate, and this will log them automatically as well if you click the log to contact. So this is what I use for my voice contact.
I'm going to have to leave you guys. I got a thing I got to do here soon.
That was it anyway, Dave. I appreciate you.
Okay. Well, see you later, guys. It's a
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
good presentation.
Thank you. Okay. So like I said, like Ariel, to your comment, I will make that slide deck available, and also the document about enabling 60 meters.
Thanks.
So I'll put that on the group's IO page.
Yeah, and if I might, Rick, I mean, you, I wasn't expecting it, but you basically hit on two things that sometimes get poo-pooed by a lot of operators. Contesting isn't just for contesting. For example, that CQ Worldwide Digital Contest, that brings out stations all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're just hunting, let's say you want to get your, you know, clean up a DXCC, or you want to flesh out Europe, I mean, use the contests. You know, like I cleaned up Europe with RIDI and with CW by working a couple of European contests. Did the same thing with South America. Not that I was concerned about how I would score in the contest, but I wanted the QSOs and I wanted the confirmations. So that's a good tool, and hat tip to Rick for pointing that out. The other one is using spotting. You know, spotting is a great tool. Sometimes it gets poo-pooed. But you know, you want to fish where the fish are. You're
Yeah.
not just fish dead water. So just wanted to reinforce both of those.
Yeah, I did a POTA request, and the guy asked me, he goes, where I'm at, I don't have internet. Would you mind spotting me? I said, absolutely.
Sure. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Those are all tools, you know, for folks that are chasing awards. Those are great tools to use on top of your base operation.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Rick? Okay, I'm going to say very well done, sir. Very good coverage of the 710 through WSJTX with some bonus added in there. The hope is that we will continue to develop the 710 for the club, for the 710 owners. Hoping to have a presentation coming up soon on noise mitigation in the 710. And we'll keep working this particular radio, because we've got 7 or 8 or more in the club now, plus club stations. So the more we know about how to use it, the better we're going to be as a club, and will help the new owners as well.
Absolutely.
Great job, Rick.
Well, thank
Thanks,
you.
Rick.
I appreciate all
job.
the feedback. Thank you. And Chuck, I have my 710 because of you.
Yeah.